Good day, friends. It is me, HLModTech, and today I'm back with a tutorial. I gave you this challenge the other day to make the sweet little organizer. My friends, I'm going to give you a little bit more info and show you how I would build one in Tinkercad. So my friends, let's get cracking. Step one, of course, is to get into Tinkercad and choose Create New Design. It is always smart to start by naming it. I'm going to name mine Organizer MDH. With it named, let's switch to our Glowforge Grid. Once again, when we hit Edit Grid, we want to make this 470. And I had to backspace to do that, and then we're going to make it 280. I'm going to backspace to do that as well. When you hit Update Grid, now it looks just like the inside of our Glowforge. Our organizer, once again, is going to be built out of cardboard, so we can start with a cube, and then to make it cardboardy, we're going to put 4 millimeters for the thickness, and just for giggles, let's make it brown as well. The design I showed you was about 120 millimeters in one direction, and it was about 90 in the other direction. So this is a rough idea of what a side looked like. If we do Control D, we can move it across, and that front dimension was something like 100 millimeters. So there were two sides, there was a front, there was a back, and then there were all the little dividers that were put in as well. Alrighty friends, the magic of this whole project is the way we use this whole box. Bring it down and let's do fit view so we can zoom in and see the numbers easier. We need to make it cardboard size, so we're going to make it 4 millimeters and make sure we're looking at it from a corner so we can see that height, and make it 4 millimeters this way as well. And then lastly, we're going to use a 15 millimeter length. Now we're going to use this 3 different ways. We're going to use it in this location, and then we're going to do Control D, and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. Remember, if you stay close to the middle of the shape, it's easier to snap to those tick marks. And then we're also going to stand it up. I'm going to do Control D again and move it over here and stand it up so it's vertical. Press D to drop that to the work plane, and you've got the 3 build tools for our project. Alrighty friends, let's start building. Click on that first side and do Control D, move it over, and then click on that piece again and do Control D, get it close, but we need to rotate it. When I rotate these, I always like to look at them from a corner so I can see that rotation, and if you stay close to the shape, it's easy to do the 90-degree rotation that we need. Select both those pieces and let's do a line. One of my new favorite tricks is to click on the shape, so that is the one it's aligning to. We need that edge to line up and we need that edge to line up. Next we need this piece all the way up on the work plane. It is so simple to click on the part you want, press the letter D, and boom, it jumps to that exact height. We're going to make our parts move in just a couple millimeters. Make sure you're on the 1 millimeter grid and simply tap the arrow 4 times to move it in 4 millimeters. I'm going to set the work plane back down to the ground by hitting work plane and the blue area. And now let's use this tab to put tabs underneath this part. Do Control D, hold down Shift and click on the second part. You'll note it says 2 shapes. Once again, we're going to hit a line. We want to align them to this piece, and we want to make sure that they're in the center, and we want to make sure they're in the center. Real quickly, I'm going to hide this part and show you what we just did. That little piece is going to cut the hole and make the tabs for our side to be connected. I'm going to hide it real quickly, and I'm going to do Control D. I want to put 2 of these, and I'm going to space them apart with the sweet 5 millimeter grid. If I tap forward arrow 5 times, and then I click on the other part, and I tap the back arrow 5 times, now when I do Show All, those parts are underneath, and they're spread out at a nice distance for the rest of our project. Hopefully you understand that if we hide this, they are going to be holes that are cut out, but they are also going to be the tabs. Watch this trick. Click on the 2 of them, group them, do Control D to duplicate, and make the second one a solid color. I'm going to go with red. I am going to lock those so that they cannot be adjusted. When I do Show All, I'm going to now hide this, and check it out. When I group these, those holes will be cut out and the red pieces are still there because I had locked them. We're going to use those sweet red pieces again. You can see that I've got them selected. I'm going to unlock them real quick. I'm going to do Control D to duplicate, and I'm going to hold down Shift to click on my base. I want those new duplicates to be on this left edge, so I'm going to click on the shape I care about, and boom, those are in place. I'm going to go back to my 1mm grid. I'm going to click just on those red pieces and go 1, 2, 3, 4 in. I'm going to do Control D, and I'm going to make the new ones the holes, but I'm going to hide them. And I'm going to hide the base. Now I'm going to click back on my cool little parts, and I'm going to lock them. If I do Show All, I'll hide this just for giggles. It really doesn't matter. But now if I group this side, check it out. We have got the 4 holes cut out, and we've got the 4 tabs ready to be put in them. I'm going to bring back everything with the Show All. I'm going to hide this little base because we don't need it for the moment. I'm going to click on this piece and do Control D. I want to connect it to these pieces, so I'm going to hold down Shift and select them both. When I hit Align, I don't want it aligned middle. I want it aligned with those parts, and I want the middle piece. If you can't see those close enough, you can use the sweet Fit View, and it'll zoom in so it's easier to see that middle chunk. And now you can see that those sides are all ready to be grouped. These are now grouped. I click on my little red parts, I unlock them, and if I group those, everything is now in place. I'm going to pick a different color for both these parts just because it looks a little neat. So now with a dark, I can look underneath and boom, those are already in place just the way we want. Let's use similar tricks to get this back taken care of. Once again, I'm going to look at it from a corner so I can rotate it and stand it up. If you stay close to the middle, it's real easy to get that lined up. Let's use the work plane tool to drop it to this exact height. D is for drop. And let's align this by clicking Shift and that one, hitting center, and then on this shape, we want that center spot. We also want it all the way to the back. Make sure we've got the 1mm grid on, and let's nudge it forward. There's 4 clicks. And then I want this edge to actually touch this face over here. So I'm going to hit W and click on that face, and when I drop it, it sticks it right to that side. Being that precise does matter when you're working with a laser cutter. Remember we did 4 plus 4 is 8, and 4 plus 4 is 8, so we need to subtract 16. If you type 74, boom, that all of a sudden fits exactly in the middle. I'm going to get the work plane back down to ground level, and then I'm quickly going to scale this down. Instead of 100, I'm only going to make it 80 high. So now that I've got my piece in place, let's add the sweet little tabs using the same type trick. First, Control D to duplicate, click on the piece that you care about, click Align, click that piece again, and boom, we want that piece centered. Let's Shift click both of these pieces, once again do Align, click on this piece so Tinkercad knows which one you care about, and then we want the middle dot on this side. You can see that piece is now in place. Let's hide this part. And remember, we're going to use that same 5mm trick to nudge 2 of them, one to the right and one to the left. Control D gets me that first one. 1, 2, 3 clicks. Click back on the other one. 1, 2, 3 clicks. I'm going to take those 2 pieces and I'm going to group them. I am going to do Control D, make the second pair red, and lock the second pair. As we learned before, we're going to use those same parts in the front, so I'm going to click on the one I can select. I'm going to do Control D, and this time I'm going to click on this edge, and I'm going to select, and I'm going to tell it this one, and all I care about is that they're in the front. That way they're in the location for later. Let's do a quick show all so all of our parts are available. We can hide this for a moment, and remember these 2 pieces can now be grouped. Alright friends, a magical part of this is because those red ones are locked, See how it says 3 shapes? As soon as we group it, it changes to 2 shapes. These combine, and this one is not allowed to, so it's even easier when you select them. I'm going to bring everything back with a show all. This time I'm going to hide the base. There are my 2 tabs, but remember they are locked. We are going to quickly unlock them, and if you draw a box that touches both 2 shapes grouped, boom, that part is now created and ready to be used. Now here's a magical thing. We're going to do Control D, shift click those holes, and if we click a line and tell Tinkercad we only care about the holes, if you hit front edge, now you've got your built part and your holes ready to be used. Switch back to your 1mm grid, grab that whole set of pieces, and simply 1, 2, 3, 4, move them back into place. Show all, hide that sweet part you just built, and when you group that, your holes are in place for the sides and the back. Click Show All and take a look at how amazing our little organizer is starting to look. The only thing I want to adjust is the height of this part. So I'm going to start by quickly hiding the base, and I'm going to ungroup those pieces real quick. Click away, click on this first part, and instead of 80 high, I'm only going to make the front 50 high. Now when I grab those 2 pieces and group them and do Show All, it is starting to look like the creation I want to make. We've got everything connected underneath. Now let's connect the sides. This time we're going to use the vertical piece. Once again, do Control D. Shift click on the back. Click your Align tool. Remind Tinkercad you care about that part. And once again, we want to do the center align, and we want to do the center align. We also want to align it to this edge, but then we're going to hide this side, and then real quickly, we're going to use that awesome work plane tool to drop that part out to the edge. When I hit the letter D after selecting it, it is right out where I want, and it's in the middle of that shape. We are then going to do Control D with our 5mm grid on. And because the work plane is on this plane, if we just do down arrow 4 times, it moves down. And if we do up arrow 4 times, it moves up, and it is in a good location. Let's click Shift and select both of them, make them a group just like we did before. Once again, we are going to duplicate them. This time I'll actually use the duplicate button. I'm going to make the new ones red, and as before, I'm going to lock them. This time I am also going to hide them. I'm going to click on this set. I'm going to do Control D, and we want them to align with this part right here. So I'm going to shift click, align, tell Tinkercad that's the part I care about. And when I hit that center button, those pieces are all of a sudden over here as well. It was that easy. I'm going to click somewhere else. I'm going to click on those 2 pieces. I'm going to do Control D. I'm going to make them red, and I'm going to lock them. While I've still got these pieces in place, I'm going to do Control D again. This time, though, I'm going to shift select the front edge. Once again, do align. Click on the piece I care about. There's that sweet center button. And boom, they're in the right place. But you may notice they're not at the right height. We simply click on them. I'm going to ungroup them, and I'm going to do the 5mm down once, and on this one I'm going to do the 5mm down 3 times. Shift, select, group. I'm going to do Control D again. The second one I'm going to make red, and I'm going to lock it, just like before. And while we're at it, let's just keep going on this technique. I'm going to click on them, make sure I've got the holes, Control D, shift click the piece on the other side, once again align, tell it I care, and boom, if I hit that center button, they are right there where they're supposed to be. I'm going to quickly hide this part. I can click on these 2, do my Control D, make them red, and lock them. So they are all in place. Let's do a quick show all. I'm going to set the work plane back to the ground, and let's start grouping some parts together. So I've got the brown piece. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to click the hole. Notice I double click check to see that I had the hole first. And when I hit shift, I'm going to group those two pieces together. I'm going to go back to the back side, make sure that I've got the holes selected. Notice it shows hole here. So when I do shift select, then I can group those, and that whole part is built. I'm going to hide it for a minute. I can now unlock those tabs, and I can group them. I'm going to also unlock these tabs, hold down shift, and group those. I'm going to select just the hole. Notice I double check. Hold in shift, select that side, and let's group those two pieces. Click on the back. Notice I have the hole. Shift, select, group, and that side is completed. So now we can hide it. I'm going to take these pieces and unlock them. I'm going to take these pieces and unlock them. And now I can quickly select those two group and find a right angle so I can touch just these two parts and group them as well. Let's make them brown. This time I'm going to go with a crazy light brown. Let's go with a crazy light brown up here as well. And when we do show all, check it out. We have got tabs everywhere connecting these parts. Friends, this is where this project gets borderline magical. Click on your centerpiece and do Control D and simply nudge it back to where you want to put that first organizer tray. Hopefully you notice it already has the tabs in place. We're going to use the duplicate trick, Control D, and then we're going to hide that duplicate so we can actually use it in a minute to fill in the holes. We're going to use the first part to make the holes. Simply click Ungroup, and then click Ungroup again and again and again until you're finally down to just that one part. So now I've got this centerpiece. So now when I click delete, that centerpiece goes away, and check it out. All of the little connector spots are still available. The easiest way to group all these is to hide the parts that we don't need, and then simply draw a rectangle that grabs all the parts we do care about and select them. So by looking at this straight, I can touch just those and group them. Check it out, my holes are cut out. And then here also, I'm touching all the places that matter, but not the one underneath, and then it groups. When I do show all of my parts are back in place and already connected. Alrighty friends, let's use a similar technique to get this piece in between here for our second divider. First, Control D to duplicate. Make sure you look at it from a corner and rotate it 90 degrees. We wanted to connect it back actually through this wall, but let's do it like this. If we simply hit D to drop, and then set our work plane back down to the blue edge, now we can tab 1, 2, 3, 4, and it actually is connected in the back just like we would expect it to be. Now we need to ungroup all the pieces so that we can cut them out. So once again we go back to our ungroup, 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 until you can no longer ungroup again. No groups, so now I can zoom in on it. I'm going to use fit view so I can get close as can be. Let's hide some sides that we don't need so we can see better. And what we want to be able to do is use this black handle to bring it right back to that edge. Because we used all even numbers, it fits nice and nifty. Let's hide this for a second. Let's hide this for a second. Let's hide this for a second. And then we want to take these two little pieces and we want to drop them on this edge. So simply click your work plane, get it to the flat edge, and when you hit D to drop, they are right where you need them. I'm going to shift click both of these little fellas and I'm going to group them. I am going to duplicate them. I am going to make the second set red, and once again I'm going to lock it. I'm going to hit show all to bring back all those other connectors, and now I'm going to click on those holes, and I want to make sure I get the holes. So it takes a couple clicks, but there you can see I do have the hole. Now when I shift click, I've got that wall selected, and when I group those two, it cuts out, and then the red ones are totally visible. So now with that part out of the way, I'm going to hide it. Now I'm going to take these two pieces, and I'm going to unlock them, and let's do shift group to put them on that other part. I'm going to leave it red for a minute just because that really makes it clear how it's working. Let's take these two on the end here, and first I'm going to hide this part just so I'm sure I got the right parts. Notice I have to shift click, and I'm going to group those two again, do Control D, make the second ones red, which any color would be fine, but then I lock them. Then I'm going to do show all. I'm going to click on the hole. Here's where you double click that you have it, shift click, and group. Now that it's cut out, I'm going to hide it for a second, and then I can click this part, unlock it, shift click, group those together, so now they're one piece. I'm going to make them a brown as well, and when I do show all, the entire part has been built. Let's do one more thing just to make it a little more awesome. I'm going to take a whole box, I'm going to stretch it way out in front, and I'm going to stretch it quite tall. And then I'm going to simply scroll out so I can see better, and I'm going to rotate it just a few degrees. I'm going to pull it up so that it's going to cut off some of my shape to give it a nice angle. And now I'm going to use the arrow keys to nudge it in place and make sure it hits where I want. That is pretty slick, so I'm going to just do Control D and do the same thing to move the other one across as well. All I've got to do is get it so that it cuts, and then I can simply drag and touch those two parts, group, move it a little bit so I got a better angle, drag and touch those two parts, and group. Unbelievably cool, quick, fast, a laser cuttable organizer. Alright friends, whatever you do, you don't want to lose this one. So right now I want you to go back to Tinkercad, and in this screen I want you to create a duplicate. And this duplicate is going to be the one that is called layout. So I'm going to just click up here where it says copy and copy, and I'm going to backspace all the way out, and I'm going to make this so it says layout of the design. You want this copy because half the fun of this project is being able to edit it and make it more awesome every time you use it. Lots of room for you to add decorations or cut out decorations on the side, maybe make your name for the front, all kinds of other things, but let me first just show you how to lay it out for laser cutting. These parts are no longer needed, so we can just hit delete. We can take our sides and we can lay them down. So notice I'm just rotating them 90 degrees, hitting the letter D to drop it. I'm going to arrange that out here for cutting. I'm going to rotate this side as well, 90 degrees, D to drop. I'm going to grab it and move it up here. I'm going to do something fancy. I'm going to use flip to flip it this way. And what that does is I've got cardboard where one side is white and one side is dark. Because I've done it like this, now I'll be able to have the same color on the outside or inside of both. I'm going to rotate 90 degrees, D to drop. Rotate 90 degrees. Remember, you always have to find the right corner so you can see that rotation handle. If you want to just click and type, you can put the number 90 in there. Remember, it's D to drop. I'm going to move this piece over here. I'm going to move that piece there. I forgot to connect the pieces in that direction. I am just going to skip them as I think they're going to be strong enough with the two connectors I already have. It looks like this one is ready to be rotated. 90 degrees and D to drop. And then finally the last one, I can also rotate 90 degrees and D to drop. Now when you export as an SVG, it'll only do them if they're flat. So if you ever open your SVG and the parts aren't all there, that means you had something that was floating instead of all the way down on the 0 level. So with all my parts in place, it is time to hit export. We're going to export everything in the design for an SVG. In my classroom, you always go up to the STL on quick access and make sure it says organizer with your initials. Save that and you are ready to bring it into the Glowforge for cutting. Alrighty friends, so I hope you had a total blast learning some crazy cool skills and making a project that you can pretty quickly turn into a cardboard organizer, or you could also use other materials if you wanted. Friends, if you found the video useful, please give it a like. If you got a question, comment, or suggestion, add it down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Smash that subscribe button, and last but not least, hit the notification bell if you want to be the first to know when there's a brand new video from me, HLModTech. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.